Hello, I am Annemie, and today we're going to be taking a look inside Earthlock, Festival of Magic. This is a JRPG currently available on Steam for money. I've put a few hours into this. This is, as with most JRPGs, only able to be a first impression. But as you can see, this is it. You've got a rather lovely little island down here. A rather wise-looking frog statue thing. And this is your hub from which you will teleport out to various game worlds. So let's head over to, I guess, Nomad's Hoist. I'm going to try to avoid any form of story spoilers, but I can't really show off the game without showing something in the realm of party members and locations. But so this is it. You'll spend a lot of your time running around these sorts of levels. You won't have random encounters. The encounters are all fixed and you will see them ahead of you. Let me just check my setup. Wrong thing. I think that's what I want. The icons aren't the clearest, but as you can see in the bottom left, there's a 3 there, and if I get closer to these, more enemies will come in. If that bar that goes around them fills up, you'll be thrust into battle. But if you press A before that happens, you get the first strike, as is happening here. So let's see, what do I want to do? So let's have a look at the anatomy of the screen. You see in the top left are your characters. The health section is pretty self-explanatory along with the icons, but then you see a number of yellow squares underneath them. This is something akin to stamina or magic or so on. Each attack that you do will take up some amount of these squares, so I think that this actually doesn't take up any, I don't think. But you can see the marked target there will take up 2 squares and so on. If you don't have enough squares to spend, you can't use them, and you'll recover 1 a turn. So I'm going to have a fire at... let's have a fire at this goblinator, let's see. That does. We do damage. Got a number of different classes going on. So this little rabbit pig thing in the middle, Nart, he is kind of the healer. So I've got access to some curative magic. So I reckon I'm going to put some regen on myself. Regen is the main form of healing magic you get, or at least I've got so far. So you don't have to have a choice between healing every turn and just healing. It just all happens, which is kind of nice. I probably shouldn't have gotten to this larger battle, but we'll deal with it, especially as one of my party members has recently left. So I'm down a person, which is not helpful. Let's just continue this. Okay, so Ive is down a little bit of health. You'll also notice a bar between Ive and Nart in the top left, which is just filled with a little bit of blue. This is their bond bar. When that fills up, one of the people can generally do some sort of powerful move, which I tend to use for Nart to do a mass heal, to be honest. I mean, it would be actually quite useful to have in this circumstance, because you can also do sort of a large multi-target attack, which would help really thin the numbers. But we will live with it. So you can also see that with these ranged attacks, the Electro Lance and the Lance, there is a number next to them. This represents how much ammo you have, which is something that I tend to like less in RPGs, but you tend to actually have fairly plentiful ammo, so that's not hugely an issue. Yeah. Put regen on. Ammon. You've actually got a bit of a garden at your home base, which I'll try and show you later, which will grow a lot of the ingredients you need for your ammo and other forms of crafting. You don't have to spend too much time with it, but it's there as an option. Okay. So here we see one of the problems in that the flying enemies are... One of their health bars is actually completely hidden. And the indicator as to whom I'm targeting is also not that clear, which is a bit of a pain. So this is actually the control interface. You've got your normal attacks, it's up on the D-pad. I did not know that was a thing. I'll talk about that in a minute. So up is your active abilities. To your left, you see a lot of your healing stuff. To your right is your kind of other stuff. And I don't know what's going to happen at the bottom. I've not actually... Maybe that is a thing to unlock, which would be fun. But so I'm going to rest, which actually gets me back one immediately, and will, at the start of my next turn, I'll gain back another one, so it effectively gets me back 2, which will allow me to keep curing. You'll notice that one of the flying enemies also landed. This is important as it has a system which is used in a few games now, where melee attacks are pretty unlikely to hit flying enemies. How is everybody? I think I might just try and club that Goblinator. See? Didn't do anything. Where range attacks are pretty unlikely to hit flying enemies. So to that end, all your characters have multiple stances. It's not quite as simple as one melee, one ranged, and it really depends on the character. So you get some form of monk type character, except they're not a monk, they use weapons, but they're focused on... One of their stances is focused on countering, whereas the other is focused on just damage dealing. You see that Nart has the ability to... Is that actually in the current stance, maybe? Oh, it's multiple pages on the same stance. So Nart can change stance and become more of a buffer instead of a healer. Sorry, this is one of the things the game didn't really tell you about multiple pages. So Nart can change from being a healer to a buffer, although Nart has haste in this stance anyway, so I don't entirely know why I'd bother. Let's keep healing. But I'm going to change Ive's stance now, because the melee stuff doesn't actually require ammo, which is nice. So that'll take up their whole turn, though, which is a bit of a pain. You'll also notice on the right-hand side we've got a turn order thing, which is quite useful. The only issue that I really have with that is that it doesn't mark... So say if I were to use haste on Ammon, it doesn't immediately change, or it doesn't indicate how much sooner he's going to act, which is a shame because it takes out some of the strategy which haste might otherwise offer. Let's just hit things. So you might notice that Ammon here has a very different moveset than he did before. For instance, he's got the ability to steal things, or he can stun enemies or throw some sand. I like stealing things. You'll get a lot of crafting supplies that way, at least at the lower end of your crafting. Punch him. But overall, the combat system is... It's solid if unexciting. It seems very much based on a control layout. Did you see that? I might try and switch to the keyboard and see if... Yeah, as you can see there, the buttons have changed, but you've still essentially got the same type of thing going on. And while I kind of understand that for a... Just stab. If you were to have a real-time game, seeing as this is entirely turn-based, I think I would have just rather had a more Final Fantasy style list and menu system. particularly as you have to actually select an attack, or action rather, in order to see what it does. Whereas if you have a list, you can just give some information on the selected item at the top, and that'll be that. So this is one of the things which I really quite like about this game. So as you saw earlier, we didn't go into combat just with the 3 enemies we initially encountered, we went into combat with 7. And the reason that you possibly want to do that is because you get experience bonuses at the end of it. So I think got the 1300 experience naturally, and then got a bonus 1000 experience because no one died, because we were outnumbered, and because there were lots and lots of enemies. It's a nice sort of risk-reward system. And also means that if you're not feeling so confident, you can try and lure enemies away one at a time and deal with them individually. Although you'll get much less experience for doing so. Okay, so let's now have a look at the leveling up system. It's all done on this talent board thing. You'll see different sections going around: empty stat node, empty perk node, empty ability node. These can all have their own individual things going on in here, so stat nodes get stats put in them, don't have any spare perks or abilities. Do we have any of them for... So yeah, quick step here is one of the perk talents which I've put in, which reduces the time cost of changing stance, which is nice for someone who will quite frequently alternate between ranged and melee. You've also got ability talents, which will just give you new abilities. Which is fairly straightforward, but it's a nice way of doing things. And the TP up in the top left, that indicates how many additional talents you can put on the board. There are some which are naturally there, so I didn't put this steel there, but it'll start unlocking once you have something adjacent to it, so I think I'm going to want to start going in that direction. You'll see the changes that all the stats make on your left fairly unambiguously. So Ive tends to be fairly physical. The magic defense is quite low, so I think I'm going to give her a resilience. You can swap these out any time as well, which is a nice thing if you want to just change your loadout a little bit. If one of the bosses is very magic dependent and your magic defense isn't very high, you can just switch all of them out as long as you actually have the perk talents, which you'll need to find out in the wild or potentially craft them. It'll let you do that. So not also doesn't have any ability, so let's give him... Don't give him magic, because his magic's fairly high and he's healing fairly effectively. I might give him some agility. I've not seen anything that just specifically boosts speed as the maximum stat, so a lot of them will boost one thing most, then something a little bit less, than something even less than that. So I'm going to give him agility. Yeah, I've not seen anything that just boosts speed as its primary, which is a shame. So I really like this leveling system, although I think it would have been nicer had it been maybe somewhat closer to the sphere grid of Final Fantasy X. Because this is just a bit of a blank board, and once you've actually filled in a lot of it, you're stuck with, where do I go? Well, I guess anywhere. So I think Ammon's unlocked all of his static things, so there's no real pressure for me to seek out particular arrangements or anything like that. Maybe if there was some form of adjacency bonus for particular types of talents, that would have been quite a cool thing. So if you have some sort of square of might next to each other, they will all power each other up. That would have been pretty good. But as it is, it's still pretty nice, and it's quite fun to put things on there. But for me, I've found a strategy which I kind of like, so any extra ability talents don't tend to get used, if I'm honest. But there we go. So that's one part of the level up system. Another part, so you'll get one talent point each time you level up. Another is the bond system. So the more you use two people in a particular pairing, so you see Ive and Nart are in a pairing at the moment. If I were to switch Amon and Ive, then Amon and Nart would be paired together. And these give you certain buffs depending on how bonded they are. So Amon and Nart have a 4-star bonding, so they each regain 30% more health when using a resurrect potion, which is nice. Amon can poison with stabbing. They're both immune to bleed, and they're both buffed with regen at the start of battle, which is pretty good. Yeah, that one just doesn't help Nart at all, but oh well. You also get more talent points at 1, 3, and 5 levels of bonding, so that encourages you to pair everyone off together to try and raise all of your bonds, which is again a nice way of rewarding you for experimenting. So I like that. Okay. There is also an overworld, which is fairly similar to this, I guess. I think... No, the enemies there still aren't randomly generated, but it feels a bit more like that. But you'll see enemies up there and so on. Now here is one of my nitpicks. Suppose you want to... Well, my voice stopped working. Suppose you want to warp to a different area. If you just went somewhere to, I don't know, fulfill a side quest or something like that, and you want to get back up to your most recent area. You can't do it directly. And I don't know why. You have to warp back to Plumpet Island, which is your home base, and then warp back out. It would seem like such a simple thing to do, to just give you a menu. One of the items on that list being this island. But no. So this is your little garden, where you can harvest crafting items and water your plants. You want to keep the watering level in that little blue bar at the top in order to have them grow faster. But they tend to grow fairly quickly anyway, if I'm completely honest. You'll also notice that next to Lease Rose Minor, in the bottom left and the bottom right, there are 3 little filled-in leaves. You'll notice that this one here, the Aquaweed Miner, only has 2 leaves filled out. This represents their levels. They can each level up to level 3, and that will affect how many crafting materials you get from them. And they level up the more you harvest from them. If you keep harvesting from them once they're at level 3, there is also a chance that they will produce the next level thing. So here's a Lease Rose Miner. Once I harvested from that enough times, I actually got a Lease Rose seed, which I could then plant and keep going. There are 3 levels of each plant type, so that's a lot of gardening. It doesn't actually take up too much time. I tend to be here maybe for 5 minutes or so and just harvest some stuff and do some crafting every now and then, and it never feels too much like a chore. It would be when I'd be coming back to the island anyway. So that's actually quite nice. And from that you can craft healing items, you can craft ammunition, so I'm a little bit low on lances, so I might just make a load. And you'll notice that I'm not running low on ingredients, which is again kind of nice. I can't make these electro lances because I haven't got anything that will give me mild shockroots, which is a shame. But I can make some more fire blast, I can make some more water blast, and I can make some barnacle snacks. Show you what those do in a minute. You can also craft yourself some talent, but I've not really been able to do that yet beyond the tutorial thing. Oh, I could make myself a quick step. Might actually do that. Yeah. I'm going to craft one of those. That'll be useful for Amon. So you can get yourself whatever sort of buffs you want, as long as you have the crafting ingredients. You're not restricted to only using what you find. Got a shop here, and then down over here, got ourselves one of our barnacles, who we found out in the wild as a little side quest. So let's feed the little guy. Couple of barnacle snacks get me some electrocore. So that's most of the mechanics of the game. You've got some little super attacks which I didn't show you, which you get by using Bond. But that's not really a huge game changer. So from here on, I'm going to be talking about the story. If you don't want to be spoiled anyway, although I don't think I'm going to be going into too much spoiler territory, just know that I don't think the story is very good. And that's a shame for JRPGs. I don't have a huge idea of why the protagonists are doing what they're doing, and yet simultaneously their dialogue is filled with them just stating what they want to do, what their goals and motivations are. It's really badly written, and also, as I don't really understand what they're after. Ooh, yay, level up. The characters aren't particularly likable. In the first sequence, you've got essentially your general's daughter, who's Ive. This one. She is complaining that she wasn't picked for a mission. She steals away to go on it anyway, and all of it is just so... The dialogue is so functional. It feels like it was written by an 8-year-old. And that's a shame, because I don't feel driven to keep going with this game. After I finish this, I'm probably not going to play it again. Despite the fact that the combat I quite enjoy. I quite like the leveling up system, but I don't feel invested in any of the characters. And that's a massive shame, because I think this game could have been really good. But as it is, it's just kinda meh. I think the last thing I want to actually talk about is just something a bit weird with this game. So you saw that, like a lot of games, you can switch characters. Amon has a special power which lets him absorb sort of magic from the world. I haven't seen if Ive has any powers yet. But Nart's power is that he can get into small spaces. So if there's a little barrier across your path, Nart can just walk underneath it. And then once you're on the other side, you can switch to someone taller, and that's just weird! The conceit with so many of these games is that you're represented on screen by the party leader because you don't want to clutter up the screen too much with too many character models, which is reasonable. But this game suggests that they're all actually transforming into one another because they can all get through that small space. But only when Nart is the party leader. And that's just strange. But anyway, I think if you want to play a JRPG, there are so many better than this. It looks nice. The combat system is kind of cool. But I can't recommend it over the myriad of other games in this genre that exist. I wasn't too hot on I Am Setsuna, but I would take that over this, to be honest. I think it's a better game. It's got a better story, and story is so much with this. So yeah, I'd probably give this a miss. Which breaks my heart, but there we go. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and a subscribe. That way I'll be able to produce more of these, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Goodbye!